You've been here a long time, so you don't have to be nervous now, you know. Good. Thank you for coming.
Okay, good afternoon everyone. I know this is the graveyard shift after lunch, 3:30. So sorry about that. But thank you for having us. I'm going to take you back a couple of weeks to the headlines following our matric results. I'm sure you all remember that. But we were greeted with things like education system, time bomb, poor pass rates, quality of teachers. It was really quite a scary time. And if we're honest, and it has been said in this room this afternoon while I've been sitting here, our education system is in a bit of a crisis. And if you were brave enough to read those articles and not just look at the headlines a couple of weeks ago, you would notice that people were obsessing about who to blame. Who do we put under the spotlight? Who do we point fingers at? Do we point fingers at government? Do we point fingers at the quality of our educators? Do we look at lack of resources? Do we blame the legacy of apartheid? But while this is all happening, what becomes starkly clear is our children need fundamental skills. And it's those fundamental skills that continually are still underdeveloped. And those fundamental skills I'm talking about are literacy and numeracy. So as a parent or as a caregiver, what do you do? Where do you turn? And what I want to chat to you a bit about today is the time is now to look at yourself. As a parent, as a caregiver, look at your role in your child's education and look at the potential you have to influence your child's education. Now that seems quite a simple solution to the problem, doesn't it? However, in rural areas, this presents quite a complex set of issues. One being that children need stimulation. If we talk about early childhood development, our children need to be stimulated on that level, which, to further develop their cognitive thinking and all those processes. And secondly, and it has been mentioned by my previous speaker, we have caregivers who aren't confident enough to do that or engage with their child on that level. And for various reasons, maybe they're not educated themselves, or some caregivers turn around and say, well, that's why I send my child to school. I don't have to do anything. So what we've done at One Room to Read is we've looked at these issues, at these challenges, and we formulated a response. And this is basically how we work, okay? We work in the homes with a field worker, a reading champion who we've trained, the caregiver, and the child, okay? Basically, we go from a child that isn't being stimulated to one that is involved in a range of activities and learns how to read with their caregiver, with their parent. Our reading champions, as I've mentioned, they train, they go and they visit the families, and they work through the reading pack which we give. This is our nice little Run Home to Read bag, and I've left some of the contents out, but basically what's in it is a set of 6 readers, okay? There's activity books, there's crayons, and there's a caregiver manual, okay? Yes, that's how it works. Thank you, my beautiful assistant. So that's what we do. And what this does for the parent or the caregiver is they build confidence. They start to realize, hang on, I do have a role, and I can do this. Even if I'm not literate, I can still read through my child. If you look at our readers, we can tell the story through pictures, okay? We don't need the words, but through the help of our reading champion, we can start introducing basic phrases. One of our favorite books is called Tusha, which means help. And that's always a great one. Start introducing basic phrases. And what this does to the child, well, the results are just amazing. It's like, I said to someone this morning, it's like you've lit a match and you've turned on a spark. The confidence in the child and improved motor neuron development. I mean, does anyone here remember learning how to turn a page? No, but it's a skill, okay? Learning how to turn the page in books, okay? Things like that. And I think deep down we're all the same. As parents, as caregivers, you want your child to achieve more. You want your child to do better. And this is what our project is doing. Our model Our CEO at Project Literacy likes to call it cheap but cheerful, so I'm going to go with that because it's catchy. Basically, it's a very simple model, very simple principle, but why it works is because it's so simple and it can be replicated. It can adjust to fit in with the various areas that we work in. We've got a project manager, field worker, and a reading champion. Each reading champion works with 10 families, which they visit twice a week. Okay? At the moment in Social Ngube, which is just outside of Pretoria, we have 5 reading champions, and across Limpopo, I have about 20 reading champions at the moment. I can go into more details in question. Cheerful bit of it is this is what we see. We see children wanting to learn, children wanting to read, and we see parents and caregivers wanting to read and engage with their child, okay, which is very important. All good models need a bit of checks and balances in place, okay? We've got monitoring and evaluation built in, which happens over various phases. Weekly by the reading champion, and their tools at each phase to make sure that we can check the progress of the child and the caregiver and sort of flag if anything needs to be done, if there's any additional assistance that's needed. So weekly by the reading champion, monthly by the field worker, and quarterly by the project manager. Our key differentiators, what makes us special? Well, I personally think a lot makes us special, but I'm just going to focus on 3. One is we're a mother tongue literacy program. So children learn the materials come in their mother tongue. I know the debate has just started in this room now. But at this level, we feel that mother tongue works. And remember, I'm talking about early childhood development here. So we're a mother tongue program. Secondly, is it's relatively inexpensive. Okay, the packs, our reading packs, is 300 Rand to get one to your family. Okay, and thirdly, we don't just work with the family for 3 months and then say, okay, cheers, we're out of here. Okay, what we do then is we link them to a local library. Okay, and we do library orientations with the families. Families learn how a library works, how you take out a book, and more importantly, how you bring it back. Okay, how to search for books, all the facilities the library has. We want them to continue, okay? They start with us, they grow and develop so much, we want to foster that growth further on. And our reading champions play a really important role in continuing this growth. They're still there in the community. So this is really an important part of what we do. And as my previous speaker said, reading, it's so important, okay? And our main goal is to make every home a reading home, and every child a reader. We want it to be a habit. We want it to be something people enjoy, something that children enjoy, and something that they can do with their parents. Okay, that bond that happens over. I'm sure a lot of us have memories of bedtime stories or those kind of things in our own personal lives. I've discussed a bit about the benefits of the children, but really what we've seen is benefits for the caregiver as well that have been noted that have sort of spiraled. A lot of our caregivers in Limpopo, have enrolled for Abbott classes, so want to further themselves after starting with our program. My group in Social Ngube have just started a vegetable garden, so they're feeding some of their own families. And yeah, I mean, we've even hired some caregivers that have done exceptionally well as reading champions. So there's a lovely circle that's forming there. What I want to say to you today is that despite the gloom that's out there, change is happening. And a small little project like ours, we're doing it one word at a time. It is going to be a long journey, but we've started with the first step. And we're very proud to say we're starting there with step number 1. Thank you.
Robin, of course, this is a small-scale project, but it's a model. It's an excellent and interesting pilot, which should be adopted nationally. Questions? Next, please.
Wow.
Jerry?
Thank you for presenting.
Thank you.
Thank you for presenting. Tell me more about the social media project and how it links with Limpopo.
Oh, they just basically are 2 sides. So where we've got funding, we're working on a small scale in Social Ngube with 5 reading champions, with 10 families each, so it's 50. So we do about 250 families in Soshanguve a year, whereas Limpopo, it's a much larger scale, where I've got about 20 reading champions.
You looked at the possibility of sourcing voluntary help from Swan University of Technology in that Soshanguve area?
Yeah, that's something I'm looking into now, definitely. Because there you have people with the skills out there that are also keen to get involved in the community. And Soshanguve is lovely like that. There's a great community spirit I found in there. So that's definitely something I'm going to look into.
And when you approach TUT, please remind them they have a 12% of commitment to community engagement.
I will remind them. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Anyone? Christina and Hillary? Just a question about evaluating the success of the project. Do you do like a basic study, a baseline study, where you assess, the level of literacy at the beginning and after a certain period of time?
That's something we're trying to get funding for now at the moment, is to do a baseline study, a proper baseline study. Like I say, at each step we have monitoring tools in place. So we've got a whole lot of data collected up until this point, which we are busy working on a database at the moment, but we physically need someone and funding to do the baseline study. That's our next goal, because we do get obviously reports back from school principals and those kind of things saying, what has happened to this child, what we've noticed such a change, but these are the kind of things that we need to do. We need to get it out there.
Two comments from me, and the one links to what has just been said. In the 1980s, I remember Tanya Vagnani and somebody else produced this wonderful paper that woke us all up, that said 1 year's preschooling has an impact for 12 years of education. And I worry about baseline studies and research for research's sake.
Yes.
Because we can make an assumption that it's going to show a change.
Yes.
And reading is only part of the all-round stimulation of a child. And I don't know how you're going to show that distinction. My other comment is around the language and going on to the local library, which I think is brilliant. But the shortage of mother tongue books, and particularly when they get to the library. So how is that challenged?
And also, along with the shortage of books, is the pure expense of mother tongue books at this stage. Where there hasn't been a library, we try, and we've just opened one ourselves, a community library in Mahlomaleng in Limpopo. And that's also tricky. I mean, we are a mother tongue program, but the reading champions are very good at also introducing English. But like I say, our core focus is on the story, whether you're doing that through words, whether you're doing that through pictures, storytelling, those kind of skills at this specific level. The children need to engage with their world in a medium that they can first before we get them onto English at a later stage.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about the process whereby you could scale up, let's say, double your number of readers and so on? What are the barriers? That you need more money? You can't organize more people?
Very easily, we need money.
That's the barrier.
Yeah, that's the barrier.
If you had the money, you could find people.
Absolutely. I mean, these reading champions, and I haven't been able to, speak about them enough, is they're the most amazing women mostly we find in these communities who have had some experience in early childhood development, and they're out there, they're in these communities, and the way they take on these roles and the work that they do is truly astonishing. So that these people are out there, we just need to find them, we need to train them, and then have the funds so that it can continue.
It's an amazing project. I just wonder, if you talk about funds, you don't have the departments as one of your partners here. Have you approached them before, and what did they say?
It's something that we try and we keep knocking.
Yeah, I would imagine that the Department of Social Development, which is in charge of all the
ECD centers, yes.
And also education later on, after 4 years, they also chip in. So there's quite a lot of money.
Where we get into a bit of conflict is they want the children to be in an ECD center. And so we sort of coming at that, yes, they do need that, but this also needs to be happening in the home. that's a bit of a challenge that we're working to sort of finding a happy medium with. But absolutely, that's where we need to be going.
Thank you, Robin.